Good afternoon, everyone. Please be seated. We're delighted to have everyone here today, and I'm now, for this wonderful occasion, and I'm going to call on Chief Judge Bowman from the Tax Court.
Good afternoon, members of the bench, guests, colleagues, family, and friends of Judge Luther Quast. Welcome, everyone. It's truly my pleasure to welcome you all to this special day as we celebrate the investiture of Judge Beverly Luther Quast as the newest member of the Minnesota Tax Court. My name is Jane Bowman, Chief Judge of the Tax Court. Today is a big day, not just for Judge Luther Quast, but for the tax court as a whole. The Minnesota Tax Court plays a crucial role in our state, making sure our tax laws work fairly for everyone. We might not always make headlines, thankfully, but the work done here matters deeply to the people, businesses, and governing agencies who come seeking resolution. Being a tax court judge isn't always easy. It takes someone with sharp legal skills, a deep understanding of tax matters, which, let's be honest, can be complicated, strong integrity, and importantly, the human touch to remember that behind every case number are real Minnesotans with real concerns. I think we can all agree that in Judge Luther Quast, we found someone who brings all these qualities to the bench. Throughout her career, Judge Luther Quast has shown not only technical excellence, but a genuine commitment to fairness that we all value in our judicial system. To Minnesota judges, and especially Chief Justice Hudson, your presence today demonstrates the warm support and guidance we offer our judicial colleagues. To the practitioners, I know you will challenge Judge Luther Quast with your legal arguments. To the family and friends of our new judge, thank you. Your support means Judge Luther Quast can show up as a whole person. Everyone's support has made today possible, and Minnesota is better for it. And to you, Judge Luther Quast, as you take your oath today, you're stepping into an important role. You'll face challenging questions, you'll have to balance competing interests, and your decisions will matter. That black robe represents your promise to be fair, to listen to every case, and to uphold justice as best you can. Minnesota courts have a strong reputation thanks to those who have served before you. Today you join that tradition, bringing your own unique perspective and wisdom to this important work. As we witness this ceremony together, let's remember what makes our justice system work: fairness, careful listening, and treating everyone equally under the law. These aren't just nice ideas, they're essential to our state's success. Congratulations, Judge Luther Quast. We're excited to see you serve on the Minnesota Tax Court, and we're grateful you've chosen this path of public service. Thank you all for being here today to celebrate this milestone. I now welcome Morgan Holcomb of Mitchell-Hamlin School of Law to offer a few remarks.
Thank you, Chief Judge Bowman and Chief Justice Hudson, and members of the judiciary, friends and family, and fellow tax geeks. Thank you for including me in this celebration. And before I say another word, congratulations to Judge Bev Luther Quast. I am truly honored and humbled to be a part of today's celebration. I am not humble, though, about the quality of Minnesota's judiciary. I feel what my late grandmother would tell me is no doubt an immodest level of pride in our state's lawyers and judges. And I'm not just sucking up. I don't appear before judges anymore, so there's no reason for me to exaggerate. No doubt several factors contribute to the quality of Minnesota's legal system. One of those factors is almost certainly the care and thought that goes into judicial selection. Excellent judges at every level of our judiciary are the foundation of our excellent system. Just like multiple factors combine to make our system outstanding, I see multiple attributes in Judge Luther Quast that I think will make her a valuable addition to our judiciary. Today, I want to highlight just three: her deep subject matter expertise, her unwavering commitment to our state and to our profession, and the strength of her character. First, her subject matter expertise. I'm a professor at Mitchell-Hamlin now, but I started my career at the University of Minnesota, where I met Bev. She was a student in my federal income tax class. And I'm not sure that Bev chose that class out of this idea that for sure tax was her path. I think it was a bar-tested topic, and it was a really good time, like 10 a.m. on Tuesday. The class was packed. One of the true pleasures of being a teacher, though, is seeing a passion ignite in a student and seeing that student take that passion to the highest levels of our profession. And it's even more fun when that's in your area. And that's what I've got to see Bev do over her career. She had a great experience, I hope, at the University of Minnesota Law School and continued to hone her expertise when she pursued her LLM in taxation at NYU. NYU is probably one of the best tax schools in the country, and Bev was able to pursue that LLM while working full-time. She also did it in what at the time was unusual, in a distance-based modality. In fact, NYU was so new to distance education that they screwed something up in their accreditation, and Bev got a whole semester of her LLM for free. Every time I tell that part of the story, my administrator heart kind of pounds, but I'm sure NYU figured it out. I was excited to work with Bev when the University of Minnesota needed a professor to fill in to teach our advanced corporate tax course. I got to work with Bev on that course, and by that time, she did not need my subject matter guidance. Her knowledge of corporate tax law already exceeded my own. I did get to work with her to develop her syllabus and a little bit on her assessments, and as everyone expected, she did an outstanding job teaching the class. Her passion for her subject was infectious for the students. Bev has become not just an excellent, accomplished practitioner, I think she is a tax lawyer's tax lawyer. And I don't think an attorney can achieve this level of competence in their chosen field without a deep commitment to their subject matter, which Bev continues to demonstrate. But I think what makes Bev exemplary is not just her commitment to tax law, but also her commitment to our state and to our profession and to the citizens and taxpayers who will appear before her. The first distinct conversation I remember having with Bev, I don't know if you remember this, we were sitting in the Commons at the U of M, and you were explaining how you transferred. So Bev said, I grew up in Minnesota, and then I transferred out east to go to school, even started law school there, but really wanted to come back to Minnesota to be part of this state and this community. As I was talking with Bev earlier this week, she mentioned to me how important it is that she is a fourth-generation Minnesota Jew. She takes pride in this state and pride in her communities. She's also committed to our profession. One way she evidences that commitment is through her service on various bar associations. As one example, I served with Bev on the Minnesota Lavender Bar Association about 10 or 12 years ago. That was during the Vote No Twice campaign, and all of us on the Minnesota Lavender Bar were busy doing CLEs and educating our fellow voters about the importance of the constitutional amendment process and how serious that process was, the history of marriage equality. Bev was out there doing all of that with us. But Bev took it one step further. She somehow managed to get her car wrapped in that bright orange Vote No sort of logo. I was still trying to figure out how to get like the 2004 bumper sticker off my car. And Bev's tooling around the Twin Cities in this sort of education on wheels for our fellow citizens. That is the level of commitment that Bev brings to what she does. Her commitment to our profession is also manifested through the many students she has mentored over the years, including those who have a hard time seeing themselves reflected in the bar. She's also volunteered to provide pro bono service to assist under-resourced individuals through their tax-related challenges. And in doing that, she's demonstrated that tax can be a tool for empowerment and personal change. All of these stories, I hope, start to hint at not just Bev's commitment to tax, but also to the strength of her character. And I want to just say a couple things about that. Bev brings this extraordinary tax expertise, but she combines that with a curiosity and authentic humility. I think we are at our best when we can genuinely listen to each other from a place of curiosity and an openness to change our minds. In other words, from a place of humility. In every interaction I have had with Bev, and in every interaction I have seen her have with others, she evidences those qualities. If I were in charge of the world, and God help us if I were in charge of the world, but if I were in charge of the world, I would give every lawyer just a little sprinkle of Bev's curiosity and humility, because I think we could all use a top-off of those qualities every now and then. So in sum, even though my late grandmother would not be happy to hear me say it, my already immodest level of pride in our state's judiciary levels up today as we celebrate Judge Bev Luther Quast's investiture. Congratulations, Bev, and thank you for your service. And I am to welcome Erica Holzer to the podium.
Well, thank you, Morgan, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erica Holzer, and I'm an attorney at the Maslin Law Firm here in Minneapolis, or over there in Minneapolis. It's an honor to speak at this investiture today, not only as a member of the legal community, but as someone who has had the privilege of calling Bev Luther Quast one of my dearest friends for almost 20 years. Bev and I met a long time ago and bonded instantly over our love of 90s music, Broadway theater, comedy, and growing up Jewish. We like a lot of the same things, we get annoyed by a lot of the same things, and we've been friends ever since. Over those nearly 2 decades, I have spent a lot of time with Bev. We have been next to each other as we have navigated some of the best and hardest and funniest and saddest and most joyful moments of our lives. We have traveled together, we have had roles in each other's weddings, we took care of our friend Jess as she was going through cancer, and we took care of each other during that time. We have spent every high holiday together since we met, sitting in the same spot at the same synagogue, joining in the same songs and prayers that our people have said for generations. My point is, you can count on Bev. You can count on her to be there. You can also count on her to sneak out of Yom Kippur services early if the comedian Kathy Griffin is in town. Being Jewish is very important to Bev, being Jewish is very important to me, but we both love Kathy Griffin, and we just told ourselves it was God's will for us to go to that show, and so we left Yom Kippur services early and we went. It is supposed to be the holiest night of the year. But in all seriousness, having witnessed Bev across all of those moments, I can say with confidence that the Minnesota Tax Court is gaining not only one of the smartest people I know, and certainly one of the most accomplished tax attorneys in the state, but also someone who is curious, dependable, hardworking, deliberate, and kind. Bev's commitment to excellence, to leadership, to showing up for others has been part of Bev's story since the start. At Wellesley College, she was elected class president all 4 years, a rare feat at a school that practically manufactures world leaders. She did this all while double majoring in economics and Jewish studies, playing trumpet in the jazz band, serving on her dorm council, and competing in Wellesley's Division III golf team. Her passion for tax law began at the University of Minnesota, where she graduated with honors and worked as a student attorney in the low-income tax clinic, representing and advising clients in a variety of tax matters. After law school, Bev joined Deloitte, advising multinational clients on the U.S. tax consequences of cross-border mergers and restructurings. From there, she spent 8 years at Ameriprise, rising to senior director and becoming a key voice in the company's global tax strategy. While working at full-time at Ameriprise, as Morgan said, Judge Luther Quast earned her LLM in taxation from NYU, one of the most rigorous and respected tax programs in the country. Her ability to balance a demanding career and an equally demanding academic workload at the same time speaks volumes about her discipline, her love of learning, and her commitment to becoming an expert in her field. In 2018, she joined 3M as senior tax counsel. There, she played a central role in the company's most complex and high-profile transactions, including billion-dollar divestitures, cross-border mergers, and most notably, the spinoff of 3M's healthcare business into Solventum. Her written tax opinions became the foundation for regulatory filings, audits, and decisions at the highest levels of the company, and her exceptional work and strategic impact at 3M earned her the Finance Beacon Award from the CFO. Now, of course, technical expertise alone does not make a great judge. What sets Judge Luther Quast apart, what makes her such a strong addition to the tax court, isn't just what she knows. It's how she thinks, how she listens, and how she leads. She is calm under pressure, open to dialogue, and grounded in fairness. She is someone who asks careful questions, considers all sides, and gives honest advice, even when it's not what people want to hear. I'm speaking from experience here. She brings clarity to complexity and empathy to difficult decisions. And it's that combination, expertise, good judgment, and empathy, which is exactly what we want in our judges. What's even more remarkable is that while Bev was building this extraordinary career, she never lost sight of her responsibility to give back. Earlier in her career, she joined the Minnesota Lavender Bar Association and eventually served as co-chair, helping lead that organization during a time when Minnesota was debating a constitutional amendment banning same-sex marriage. I had forgotten about your car wrap, which was actually very cool. But I'm proud to say that we successfully defeated that proposed amendment, and Bev played a critical role in those efforts, not least of which the car. She became a trusted educator on tax issues affecting LGBTQ+ families, delivering CLEs across Minnesota and nationally, and authoring chapters for desk books and other publications about the inequities in our tax system. That work earned her national recognition, and she was named one of the country's best LGBT lawyers under 40 by the National LGBT Bar Association. She has also mentored dozens of students and new lawyers over the years, many of them LGBTQ or first generation, through the University of Minnesota's Corporate Institute program, the MLBA, and her own expansive personal network. And through it all, she never stopped doing the quiet work. Every year, she has taken on multiple pro bono matters, helping people who can't afford attorneys with IRS notices, Minnesota property tax rebates, or questions about nonprofit filings. Outside of the law, she is equally committed to service. She serves on the finance committee of our synagogue, Shir Tikva, and has spent over 20 years volunteering with the Wellesley College Alumni Association, advocating for equity and access in higher education. She invests in her communities, not just with her time and her skills, but with her full heart. And on that note, over all of our years of friendship, I have seen Judge Luther Quast do extraordinary things professionally. But what impresses me most is how she shows up for people. Our dear friend Jess passed away last year from cancer at just 41 years old. In the final stretch of Jess's life, Bev was there not just occasionally, but consistently. She helped Jess organize her finances, brought her to chemo appointments, helped her move in the midst of everything, brought her meals, and provided a steady, quiet presence to Jess during an incredibly, impossibly difficult time. That same compassion, that same presence, that same sense of responsibility to others, that's what she brings to the bench. And I have no doubt if Jess were here today, she would be in the front row beaming with pride. Jewish tradition teaches tzedek, tzedek, terdov. Justice, justice shall you pursue. The repetition of the word justice is intentional. It reminds us that the pursuit of justice is not just a one-time act. It must be constant. It must be done with integrity, humility, and compassion. It must be at the forefront of our minds at all times. That's how Bev has lived her life. That's how she has practiced law, and that's how she will serve on the bench. Bev also brings a perspective that is still too rare. As a queer Jewish woman, she understands what it means to exist within systems that weren't always built with you in mind, and that perspective will make her an even better judge. Bev, congratulations. We are proud of you. We are grateful for your service, and the people of Minnesota are fortunate to have you as our newest tax court judge.
And Erica, thank you for those very, very warm comments. And now it is my honor to administer the oath of office, so I'll come down there and join you. Let's make sure we got the best shot for the pictures.
I know, right? There's a live stream.
I know. Are we in a good position, folks? I think so. We'll get it together. No, this is... Please raise your right hand and repeat after me.
I, Beverly Jean Luther Quast,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota,
and that I will discharge faithfully
and that I will discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of Judge of the Minnesota Tax Court
the duties of the office as Judge of the Minnesota Tax Court
to the best of my judgment and ability,
to the best of my judgment and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll now have remarks from Judge Quast.
This is only the second time I've put this on. Good afternoon, everyone. Well, thank you, Chief Justice Hudson. Thank you, Chief Judge Bowman. And thank you so much, Morgan and Erica, for your words of introduction. Well, may it please the court. Erica had mentioned that I am the first queer Jewish judge appointed to a court in the state of Minnesota, which is an incredibly meaningful, intersectional milestone that I'm proud to hold. My grandma Shirley, if she were alive today, my late grandmother, would probably be kvelling, as we say in Yiddish. But in addition to that honor, I've now earned another historic distinction. Apparently, I think, there are probably more CPAs and accountants gathered here today in the Minnesota Judicial Center ever in history. So thank you for coming and showing up. You can probably expect to see confirmation of that in the next Guinness book. I am incredibly honored and grateful to be appointed as judge of the Minnesota Tax Court. I want to thank, off the bat, Governor Tim Walz, Lieutenant Governor Peggy Flanagan, and members of the Judicial Selection Panel, including Adam Miller and Jake Smith, for placing their trust in me to serve our state. My path to the bench would not be exactly described as traditional. Sorry, no podium here. So I'm particularly grateful to the governor and his team for recognizing the value in my experience and the unique perspective that I bring to the court. So the reason that I stand here today, first and foremost, is because I am a tax nerd. I think that's been established by now. I am a tax nerd who cares deeply about the transparency and fair administration of our state tax laws, to ensure equal and just treatment for Minnesota's taxpayers who fund our state's public services. Today is a very special day for me because we are not only celebrating my investiture, but I also have this captive audience of colleagues, friends, and family. So I'd like to regale you with stories about tax and to tell you why I find tax law so meaningful and the importance of fair and equal adjudication of our tax laws. So I think that, when kids these days, they talk about what they want to be when they grow up, you don't often hear them say tax lawyer. That's strange. On the first day of school, parents post pictures of their kids holding signs on social media, and I've yet to see a single one say tax lawyer or tax judge or accountant. These are great careers. In fact, I've probably seen a little bit more of like Dinosaur and Beyonce, but like most kids today, tax law was not on my radar either. I first became this tax nerd in Professor Morgan Holcomb's class at the University of Minnesota, and I remember feeling energized each day about studying this intersection between tax law and quantitative problem solving. I really love puzzles. I do all the New York Times ones each day. Tax law is like a complicated puzzle, and the solution to that puzzle can have an enormous impact on people's lives. Morgan taught me that the fundamental principles of tax law, that a fair system should be horizontally and vertically equitable. It should be simple to understand and enforce. It should be neutral so as not to influence economic decisions. And it should be adequate. It should generate enough revenue to meet a society's needs. So thank you, Dean Holcomb, for being my professor, my mentor, occasional teaching collaborator and friend. And it took me many years to be able to get comfortable calling you Morgan instead of professor. And I'm honored to have you here to introduce me today. The following semester in Morgan's state and local tax course, we were in a lot of courses together, Judge Bradford de la Pena, who was then Assistant Attorney General, he came to guest lecture to my class about his work in public service. And, Brad, I don't remember what you said, but I do remember that you made me realize that a career enforcing our state tax laws could have an enormous positive impact. So thank you for your early inspiration. It's an honor to work beside you 20 years later. And one sort of final core tax memory I have to share is that in my third year of law school in 2007, there was a law professor and theologian at the University of Alabama. Her name is Susan Pace Hamill. And she published a law review article turned book that was titled As Certain as Death, in which she developed a quantitative theological framework to evaluate how well a government's tax system aligns with Judeo-Christian ethics and the teachings of Jesus. And I recognize I'm maybe not like the first person you'd expect to recommend a book about Jesus, considering my brand of Torah does not include the New Testament, but her thesis really resonated with me. Like, I talk about this book all the time to people. According to Hamill, biblical teachings indicate that a morally just society's system of tax and spend requires moderately progressive tax rates. It requires guardrails against the accumulation of extreme wealth and public investment to ensure that not only basic needs, but access to decent healthcare, housing, education, and job training are available to its citizens. From the professor's words, quote, adequate tax revenues must guarantee everyone, not just those at high levels of income and wealth, have a reasonable opportunity to reach their God-created potential, unquote. And because all humans are made in the image of God, or as we say in Hebrew, Be'etzalem Elohim, which is a core principle of my own Jewish tradition. Okay, so I'm getting to the rest of the core piece here, is that Professor Hamill, she developed a formula. I love formulas. And these formulas scored how well each state's tax system reflects these biblical principles. And then she applied that methodology to all 50 states. She found that 49 of those states disadvantage its poorest citizens. And there was really only one state in the country that met this biblical moral standard. And that state was Minnesota. Now, this is 2007. I believe, the data hasn't been updated, but it really struck me at the time and motivated me. It was a catalyst that inspired my career in tax law. So before my appointment, I had dedicated my career to representing taxpayers and served as in-house tax counsel for some of Minnesota's largest headquartered companies. My role was to evaluate complex business decisions from every angle and to arrive at the right tax answer, which ensured compliance with the law and helped my clients avoid tax controversy. And through that work, I saw firsthand how decisions that are made in line with our state's ideal tax system, they can have meaningful downstream impact on Minnesota's economy and the lives of its people. I believe in the power of good government, and as a fourth-generation Minnesotan Jew, I believe in this state. And now as a judge, I'm proud to uphold a tax system that strives to provide fairness, integrity, and opportunity for all. So I would also not be standing here today if it were not for the lessons that I have learned from others, the mentorship I've received from mentors, the collaboration made with brilliant coworkers, and the support I have from my friends and my family. First, I want to thank my wife Beth, for always being supportive of me and my big Capricorn energy. I am grateful for my parents, for their love and support, and my twin sister Betty, her husband Ben, and my niece Johanna, and the whole Quast clan, my in-laws. I'd like to also thank Chief Administrative Law Judge Jenny Starr, who has been a valued friend and mentor over the years. In terms of the support I've received from colleagues and mentors, I'd like to thank my colleagues and coworkers of 17 years of practicing law. In particular, I learned a lot about leadership and governance from Justin McGue while at 3M, Carrie Skirdlaw in my very regrettably short tenure at US Bank, and in particular, I want to thank Stacy Lindstedt at Solventum, who, when I often refer to her as my friend slash boss slash coworker, because our relationship is really multidimensional. In addition to Stacy, I want to thank my forever tax teammates, Jenny Sawija, Emily Mayhus, and Natasha Dexter, who is streaming today's ceremony from Serbia, if she is still awake. I would also like to thank Janine Lee and Julie Morrison of the Infinity Project for their time and valuable advice. And while I have a gaggle of friends, or gaggle, who have encouraged me along the way, I cannot possibly name them all individually, so I do want to especially thank Erica Holzer, Amy Lawler, and Catherine Harvey McIntosh for their advice and support in this process. And finally, to Chief Judge Bowman, Judge De La Pena, and the entire tax court and its staff, for all that they do to continue to make sure that our court runs smoothly. Thank you. I know I started this speech by calling myself a tax nerd, so I'll end the same way. I'm really proud to be this tax nerd who now has the privilege of serving the people of Minnesota. As a judge on this court, I vow to uphold these laws and ensure that Minnesota taxpayers pay only what they owe and nothing more, nothing less. I promise to bring my passion for fair taxation, my commitment to equal justice, and my enthusiasm for solving complex tax puzzles to every case that comes before me. Thank you everyone here today for sharing in this moment, and to all my friends and family, coworkers, colleagues who have made this possible. Thank you.
That was wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, judges and justices, friends and family and colleagues. I am delighted to invite everyone for some cake and lemonade 2 floors down in the reception room. Thank you.
We are adjourned. Thank you. Oh, this is nice.
Hey.
Good. Haven't seen you in a while.
Yeah.
How you doing?
Good. How about yourself?
Good. I'm good.
Yeah.
This is really nice.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming on a Friday afternoon.
Oh, absolutely. I wanted to do it. Good for the courts to get together and support one another. You guys do just fabulous work. So all the staff.
Well, thank you.
So
Yeah.
absolutely. So very, very helpful to us.
Well, yes. That's the goal.
Yeah, it's a specialty. It is
Yeah.
truly a specialty.
But we also, respect and try to